Howdy Beans, and welcome back to another potentially really interesting and exciting episode of the Howdy Beans podcast. I'm your host, Luke the Elder Bean. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're all good. So today I'm going to be looking at a film that technically I've already watched, and technically I've already reviewed, actually not that long ago, for the podcast this year. But it's a topic that I wanted to look into because I found it very interesting. As I've done my research into this genre, I just went down a rabbit hole and I thought, you know what, that would be an interesting thing to look into. So today I'm going to be looking into Troy, but specifically Troy, the director's cut. Now, I won't go into sort of major detail, but a couple of months ago, as of this review coming out, I watched and reviewed the film Troy. Again, if you haven't listened to that review, please do. I actually had an absolutely brilliant time with that. It's on YouTube, it's on Spotify. Please do go back and check it out. As I was watching that movie, as I got around to it, one of the end things that I found was the fact of, even though I love the movie, and yes, you know, I watched it twice in one day. Like, the movie's about 2 hours and 36 minutes long. I watched it 2 times in one day, once on my own and the second time with my mum. And even after loving it so much, it was just one of the things I felt I was left wanting more. I was left with the feeling of, I need more. I want to experience more. And I know for a lot of people it is different, but for me, being somebody who loves Greek mythology, who is fascinated with the Greek tragedies, the drama of it, because that's what it was really at the end of the day. It was drama. It was slagging each other off, but done with swords instead of words. Well, words were involved, but it was mostly swords and battles and big epic fights and things like that, and countries being conquered and destroyed and so on and so forth. And that's basically what Greek tragedies was. It was a lot of dialogue. It was a lot of fighting. And even though I loved the fighting and I thought it was great, but it was just like, I wanted more. And then I went down a rabbit hole and I learned that this movie has a director's cut. And the director's cut, is about, the original length for this movie is about 2 hours and 43 minutes. The director's cut is about 3 hours and 16 minutes. So there's a lot more to be on in it. It's very significantly longer than the theatre version. But all the content, like, it includes expanded and deleted scenes, enhancing sort of character depth and plot details, particularly regarding Achilles and Hector, and that's what I want. I just want more. Like, I want more violence, I want more explicit violence. I want more sort of big, longer, gruesome battles. I want more dialogue. I want the characters to sit and chat, because again, that's one of the reasons why you would listen to a Greek tragedy, why you read a Greek tale, because it was just long conversations. And I know for a lot of people, that's not what they want in a movie like this. They want the action. And I can understand why it was shortened, but that's one of the reasons why I want to look into this, because my sort of examination with this episode, and the reason I've done it, and the reason why it's a little bit different, and I'm not doing no housekeeping or anything like that, and I'm not going to talk about, obviously, the cast or the production, because I've already done that. What this will be, and the whole point of this, and if it does well, the idea is I want to compare and contrast. So I watched the theatre version, absolutely loved it. I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was fantastic. Now I want to watch the director's cut. I want to see what added features, what extended scenes, what extended dialogue, sort of like that. Does it benefit from a director's cut? Does it make it a bit too long? Is it even better than the original? Is it one of those where I'm left thinking, you know what? I can see what the director was getting at, but this dialogue wasn't needed, or that the combat went for a little bit too long, these sort of things. And I bought the movie on Blu-ray, so I can watch it in 1080p, high definition. I've got the extended runtimes. It's going to look brilliant. It's going to look fantastic. But the idea is I just want to compare and contrast. And the reason I want to do this, and again, the reason why I say I hope it does well, is the fact of, as I mentioned, I went down a rabbit hole. I found that, like, Kingdom of Heaven and the movie, what was it called? Alexander, which I'd never watched, where it's a movie with Colin Firth. He basically plays Alexander the Great. I never knew that movie existed. I found these movies and many more that had extended versions and director's cuts. And it made me think, well, I wanted to more of this genre anyway. I'm going to look more into these sort of movies because I really miss them, and I got that bug from Gladiator. Then I watched this movie, and that bug is just like multiplied, and it's like really infesting my being because I want to watch more movies like this. And I figured, why not compare, contrast? So that's kind of the idea behind it. If this episode does well and people like it and enjoy it, I will compare, contrast other movies. So, like, for example, if by next year I watch The Last Samurai, or I watch Alexander, or I watch Kingdom of Heaven, depends if I like it or dislike it. Again, I haven't seen them, so I can't really comment now. But if I like them or dislike them, it doesn't matter. I would then watch the extended version or whatever next version there is, and then I'll compare and contrast, saying, the extended version is actually better. The theatre version, it's not good. It's not is interesting. They trim too much. It could have benefited from X, Y, and Z, and actually the extended version. Or it could be the complete opposite. It could be the fact of, the theatre version is better. The extended version is not needed. And I find that interesting. That kind of content interests me. Those are the sort of things I look for when I'm on YouTube. Those are the things I look for when I'm scrolling through Spotify, looking for like new interesting podcasts, topics, and podcasts to listen to. Is the fact of that would be interesting to compare and contrast. And I haven't seen anybody else really do it. So I figured, why not give it a go? If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So that is kind of the idea that I've got. So today, we're going to be looking at Troy, the director's cut, unseen in the theatres, unrivaled in spectacle, bigger, braver, bolder. So this is what's on the back of the box. It goes, director Wolfgang Preston enlarges his exciting epic with over 30 minutes of previously unseen footage, drawing you deeper into the heat of battle and the heated lives of his complex characters, with a stellar cast. Obviously, Brad Pitt as Achilles, Eric Bana as Hector, Orlando Bloom as Paris, Diane Kruger as Helen, and Peter O'Toole as Priam. Troy Director's Cut completes the intense saga of one of history's greatest confrontations, recreated through the passion of one of today's best filmmakers. And special features include, and I will watch all these because I feel like it will benefit my end sort of feelings. So we've got Troy Revisited, a introduction by Wolfgang Preston in high definition. Troy in focus, the talent and resources an epic movie requires. In the thick of battle, the film's thrilling action sequences, from ruins to reality, the history behind the production design. Troy, an effects odyssey, the secrets behind the miraculous special effects, and attacking Troy, gearing up for an on-screen siege, and then the Greek ship towing theatre trailer. And I will watch all of them and experience them. The disc itself didn't cost me that much. I managed to find it for £2 online on Blu-ray. I'm actually really excited with it. Sadly, my copy came a bit damaged, but the disc is fine, and that's all that matters. And so that's about it, really. There's nothing else to add. Like I said, I'm not talking about the production because I've already done that. I do implore you all, before I move on to the next bit, if you haven't listened to my review of Troy, please do. Not just because, again, I want more clicks and I want more people to listen to it, and because I had a fantastic time with the movie, but I feel like if you have listened to my review of Troy, you can understand my thoughts and feelings going into this one. You'll be able to understand, what parts I liked, what parts I didn't like, what parts I felt like extended. Like, it would help you more so to understand my thought process and my thought mentality going into the extended version. So please do check it out. It's on Apple, it's on Spotify, it's all on podcasting platforms, it's on YouTube. So go check it out, go enjoy it, go and give it a listen, even if you don't listen to it all, because I know it's a bit of a long one. Listen to it a bit so you kind of get a feel of what I'm trying to do, and then hopefully come back, listen to my thoughts and feelings of the director's cut, and we can sort of go from there. So that's it. I'm going to go off now and watch Troy Director's Cut. I'm very much excited. Fingers crossed it is everything and more that I wanted and hope it will be. I get everything that I was looking for, more dialogue, more action, more gore, everything like that. Fingers crossed. Yeah. So I'll see you all in a minute. And welcome back, everybody. So, this one has been a difficult one, not because the movie itself is difficult, mostly because, well, I'll be honest, it's really hard to find the time to watch a 3 hour long movie. You know, with work and the podcast and other topics that I want to look at, I want to get things planned and ready for Halloween and Christmas and like New Year and all that. And obviously, you know, just standard life stuff. It's really hard to find the free time to sit down for 3 hours and not do anything else but watch a movie I've already watched. Now, granted, I do really love and adore this movie, and this director's cut is phenomenal, but we'll get there in a second. But it's just really, really hard to find the time. But I finally managed to do it. I think about, you know, the movie Oppenheimer. No way was I going to go to the cinemas to watch that for 3 hours without missing bits because I'm having to get up and go to the toilet because I'm a bit of a fidget, so I can't sit still. So that would have been a nightmare. So I finally got around to watching that on TV, but even then I had to watch it in parts because, again, watching the whole movie in 3 hours, even though it's a good film, was really difficult. But I digress. I finally managed to do it with Troy, the director's cut. And honestly, first impressions, going right into it, this is my preferred format to watch this movie in, and it's just better. It's everything that I wanted and more. There's more dialogue. There's more moments with certain characters. You get to see more of Sean Bean, not a lot, but you get to see more of Sean Bean. You get to have longer battles, because the thing is with the theatre version of this movie, and it's sort of best way to explain it, the theatre version, the one that came out in 2004, that one is more faster paced, more action orientated. Now granted, that movie is about 2 hours and 40 minutes, but I would say because of the pacing and the way the shots are, it doesn't feel like 2 hours and 47 minutes. It goes very, very quickly. You know, you're not stuck in certain moments. The battles, they're long enough, but they're not too long. Obviously, they cut out all the gory bits as well, which all the gory bits are in this one, which makes those battles even better. But again, I'll get into that. But it's a very quicker movie. There's different orchestral music as well, different background music. So it's all there to heighten this thing of being a very fast-paced, action-orientated, gladiator-style sort of movie. Whereas the director's cut is slower. It's fast when it needs to be, but it takes its time because it's a Greek epic. You know, it's part of the Iliad. It's got to take its time. Like those Iliad, those plays used to go on for days. You know, when they were being performed, like they're meant to be stories that are told over weeks and days and months because, again, it's meant to tell the tale. Again, we don't have that luxury in a movie because we don't want to sit and watch a film that's going to take days and days and days to watch. You know, so he being able to cram it all into 3 hours is quite impressive. But like I said, you've got more dialogue. Like you get to spend more time with characters. You get to spend to get to know them much more. Like I've written down notes and I'll get to them in a minute. But it's just slower, but faster at parts where it needs to be. Like the battles, they're not sort of come and gone. You know, you've got quick battles, but they're not quick as in the pace and they're quick as in like the shots. Like you're getting like, it's like Final Destination. There's a guy getting his eyes ripped out with like somebody with their thumbs in his face, and you got another guy's getting speared. One guy's being pushed over and he falls onto a giant wooden spike. Things like that. You know, there's always something going on. There's blood, there's guts, there's gore, there's viscera going everywhere on the screen. People are getting sprayed and covered with blood because that is what it would be like in a real battle. And again, I think of the Battle of the Bastards, how that one is portrayed, how like they're literally so compact with each other, they can't swing a sword. They are literally just having to get a little bit of motion with their sharp blades and spears, try to get any sort of leeway they can to sort of kill the enemy before the enemy kills them. It's absolutely brilliant, you know. So my first impressions generally are, if I'm going to watch Troy again, it'll be this version because it's just better. Like I was taking notes, like I don't normally do that. I'll be completely honest. I don't tend to take many notes. I tend to retain a lot of the information, and that's kind of why when I watch movies, I tend to do the review as soon as, like that straight out of theatre sort of reaction, because it's all fresh in my mind. But for this movie, I was like, because I'm doing the differences, I want to take down some notes of some differences that I mentioned. So I've got them all down on my phone. But it's kind of funny because as I was taking notes down, because I knew that the battles were going to be longer, more grittier, that I wasn't taking down notes during the battles. So I think there were bits that I missed, to be honest. So I do apologize if that's the case. Like if you've watched this version multiple times and I've missed something, again, I am sorry. But this is what I've got on my notes. So the movie opens up with like a hungry dog looking for its master, and the master's dead. And I love this because it's how can I explain it? How can I put it into words? It really shows the idea of war, and that, you know, it opens up really somber. Like there's no music, it's quiet, and there's a battlefield strewn with bodies, and this dog has just come off onto screen, sniffing around. It's pining, looking for sort of its master. Finally finds them, and they're dead. And it's a little pine, and then the camera pans out. And then it's the beginning of the theatre version of the movie where you see Agamemnon and you see the other army, and they're both on this battlefield, and they're like ready to attack each other as both kings come together, and they have their little sort of duel of wits, a duel of conversation, the duel of tongues is probably the best way to explain it. And I love that because it really shows that like this guy wasn't a warrior, like he was a peasant. He was just caught in the crossfire. He just happened to be on the wrong team, or not even team, just be born in the wrong country, and he gets killed for it. And in that moment, in that quick scene, which again I get why they cut it, but in that quick moment you can really tell of like innocents are getting killed, and there's a lot more of that in this movie where like, you're watching it, you're sitting there going, well, like when they're ransacking Troy, like why are they attacking? Why are they killing the men? Why are they killing the women? Why are they killing the children? You know, they happen to be Trojans, yes, but they're not soldiers. You know what I mean? Like again, I know that happens. That's happened in war a lot. It's happened throughout human history. But it's one of those where I always sit there and I think, but why? Why kill the innocents? They've got nothing to do with this. If you're going to kill anybody, kill the soldiers, the ones that are going to kill you. But don't kill innocent people. And like what I love about this version as well, it's more emphasized more on Achilles' sort of evolution, where like Achilles at the beginning of the movie, he doesn't care. Like he's a warlord that is very cocky, but because he knows he's the best, but he's clever at the same time. He's like when he first sees Agamemnon, he's like, oh, imagine a king fighting their own battles. Wouldn't that be a day? Sort of thing. And Agamemnon says something back to him, and he just turns back around. He's like, well, you do it then. I'm not doing it. You know, and he needs basically one of the commanders to come over to him. He's like, come on, Achilles, like, don't do it for him. Do it for the men. The men are looking at you. Don't let them all die because of this knobhead over here, basically. You know, just do it. And Achilles does. And as you go through the movie, you see this evolution, especially when Hector dies. And he's dealing with that. And I don't know, I can't remember if this is in the theatre version, but in this version, which I really loved, the king comes. So Hector's father comes and talks to Achilles. This bit's in the original version of the movie. He comes and talks to him, and he's like, look, I've done something that no other man has ever done. I've kissed the hands of the man that killed my son. And they have this back and forth, and this idea of killing innocents, and you know, about the conscience and stuff like that. And he basically says to the king of like, look, I will give you Hector's body back, and I'll give you 12 days of peace so you can bury your dead and mourn in the best way you can. All this is in the theatre version. The bit that I don't know I can't remember if it is or not, because it's been a while since I've watched Troy and did the review. But there's a moment where Achilles says to the king, give me a moment, I'll get the body prepared. He goes around the back where Hector's body is, and he weeps. He weeps over Hector, of what he's done, what war has led him to do. Not just this war, but all the wars, all the fighting he's ever done in life. He's led to this point where he realizes that this is not the man that he wants to be. Of all the things that he's lost, that Achilles, the sort of immortal Achilles, isn't immortal. That just because he's never been killed doesn't mean he doesn't have a heart, doesn't mean that he's made out of stone, that he's made out of flesh. And it goes to show that when he does do the Trojan horse, and he does ransack the city of Troy, he's sparing soldiers. Like oh, I've got a wife and kids, please don't kill me. And then the normal Achilles, well, I don't care, just, you know, stabs him. But Achilles kind of looks at him and he's like, just make sure they get out of the city, go. And he goes off and he goes looking for like the love of his life and stuff like that. And I love that. I love that evolution of the character. But going back to that thing with the dog, it really sort of emphasizes this idea of innocence and it really goes again with war and innocents kind of get involved when they don't need to, and Achilles, his evolution as well as he changes for the movie, which I love. And then you get longer scenes with Paris being a hoe, basically. There's no other way to put it. He's a man whore, long and short of it. He's been a hoe with Helena. You get a little bit more nudity in this. You see a bit of boob, bit of bum, bit of nipple. Not a lot, but I'm not here for that. But again, I'm not saying no to a bit of boob. Anyway, but you're getting a lot more sort of Paris being a hoe and his interaction with Helena when you first see them, and you can tell that they've had a bit of a fling together. That Helena's cheating on Agamemnon with Menelaus. Is it Menelaus? Anyway, yeah, where she's cheating on the king with Paris, and how Paris, like Helena and Paris are the same age, but he's not mature. Like she's lived more years than he has, even though they're the same age. She's more mature and she understands the actions, and he doesn't. He's just a hoe, basically. He just sleeps around. And you get more scenes like that at the beginning. You get more scenes strewn throughout, and you kind of understand why Paris did what he did. But at the same stage, I'm still left conflicted where, like, you caused this, and you still chickened out and cowered and hid behind your walls of your city. You hid behind your father. You hid behind your brother. You got your brother killed when really you shouldn't have had to. Hector was a brilliant sort of person, man, soldier, warrior, whatever you want to call him. He was fantastic. He would have been a incredible king. But because Paris couldn't keep it in his pants, he's just ruined everything, But so, despite that, you do get to spend a lot more time with him and Helena. And there's one thing that I really love, which I kind of wish they kept it in, but again, I can understand why they took it out. After sort of Paris and Helen, they've had their bit of fling, they've had their sexy time, and Paris comes downstairs. Obviously, the party's still kind of going on downstairs. The king, he's gone off with like the maidens, and he's having a good time, and the men are drunk, and you've got Hector there. And he sees Paris come down, and he goes. I love this scene, and this is part of the extended. This is not in the theatre version. He basically goes to Paris. He goes, "So who was it tonight?" And Paris goes, "Oh, it was the fisherman's wife." And he's like, "Oh, it's always the fisherman's wife." And obviously Hector knows. He's not stupid because he knows where he's come from. And he basically he says to him, "It's like, be careful, because we've come here for peace. Don't ruin the years of work that our father has done to broker peace, just so you could wet your wick," basically. And Paris, again, he's young. He's not taking any notice. He's like, "Oh, it was the fisherman's wife. I swear it." And I love this bit. Hector grabs him by the face, like you would a child or like a small puppy or something. Grabs him by the face, smushes it, looks him dead in the eye, and goes, "No, seriously, do not fuck about. What you were doing. I'm not stupid. I know who you was with, right? Just leave it be. We're leaving today. We're leaving with peace. What happened upstairs never happened," sort of thing. Like, don't mess up all the work that me and father have done for this peace for years. And then Paris like, yeah, no, I won't, yeah, no, I promise, I promise. And obviously the next scene is they're on the boat going back to Troy, and he's like, "Brother, don't be mad at me. You said you always defend me." And Hector's like, "What have you done?" And then he basically shows Helena. He's like, moments like, "Turn the ship around, go back." And so, like, I get it, because those scenes are basically identical. So there was no need to have the same basically scene right next to each other, because they both do the same thing, just differently tonally. Whereas that one was a lot more harsh, where he grabs him in the face and he says, "Don't do it, don't mess about." Whereas the other one is a bit more somber, a bit more brotherly. So I understand why they got rid of that, because it is basically the same scene, just different. But I appreciate it. I appreciated him basically grabbing him like, "Look, don't mess about. You're going to ruin things." And Paris does, because that's Paris. That's his character. That's who he is as a person. Then you see more of Agamemnon's hate for Achilles, but needs him to sort of win the war. So it's evident in the theatre version, but it's never ever shown. Whereas in this version, it is shown. You see a lot more of like Agamemnon be like, "I really hate him. Of all the warlords, it's him who I hate the most. Like, I just want to I want to strangle him. I want to throttle him. I want to kill him. But I can't, because I know if I don't have Achilles, I'm winning any more wars. The only reason why I've won so many wars, and because I've taken over Greece so much is because of Achilles. It's because the men don't follow me. They don't respect me. They don't love me. I'm their king, yes, but if I led them into battle, I would lose because I don't have their full sort of support. They only fight because they know Achilles is with them. And I love that. I love the actual meaning of like just Agamemnon. Like I really, really hate that man. And again, it makes sense because when you get to sort of the end of the movie where you've got Agamemnon with again, I can't remember her name, but the cousin of Hector and Paris, who is a love interest to Achilles, and he's right next. They're cuddling each other. He's like, I almost lost my whole kingdom, this whole war, because of you. Because of what you changing the mind of Achilles and that sort of thing, and it kind of really grows on that of like you can see how much he hates him, how the fact of he only needs him for now. So it would go to show, like again, this is my headcanon, that if Agamemnon had survived, if Agamemnon had won the Trojan War and Achilles had helped him do it, that it wouldn't be long until Agamemnon goes after and kills Achilles, because he knows that if he keeps Achilles alive, he loses everything. That the men won't want to fight anymore or be loyal to him, so he has to get rid of Achilles so that he has full control. You know what I mean? Because even though Achilles isn't interested in being king, this is how kings think. Kings think like this, thinks of like, he could be a jeopardy to my throne. He could try and take over my throne, or he could change his mind one day and turn all my men against me. And that's it. So you just know that if this war had gone successful for him, for Agamemnon, that they would have got rid of Achilles eventually anyway. And I love that. I love that extra bit of world building, that bit of like, that bit of extra sauce, that bit of drama, because that's what this is about. It's all drama. It's just added drama, and I love it. Again, because that's why we watch Greek tragedies, why we read them, why they're still popular today, why they're still done it in theatre and stuff like that, because it is just a drama, and I love that drama. It's great, which is funny because I don't like normal drama in life, but when it comes to like sort of historical drama, I'm all for it. It's weird. You got longer scenes of Troy being prepared for war, i.e. them making weapons, praying to the gods, making offerings. Again, it's little contextual things, but you can appreciate it because it really kind of gets you into this idea of, oh, they're prepared for a war, because they do say a lot of the times of like the Trojan city, the Trojan walls, they've stood the test of time. Countless armies have tried to besiege them. Not a single one has been able to, and they will not fall, and we're prepared. And our people are prepared, and you get to see that. You get to see the blacksmiths make tons and tons of armaments. You get to see the people who are not panicked. They're not, oh my God, there's a war coming, None of them look terrified. They're all just going about their daily day, really. The markets are open. People are trading. People are eating. People are just having fun. Kids are running around. None of them look scared because they've been through this before, because they know their city is impenetrable, so they're not fearful. While the soldiers are going, like even the soldiers aren't panicking. They're orderly. They're going back and forth. It just adds to the world building of Troy's been through this before. Agamemnon is not the first, and he probably wasn't going to be the last in their minds. You know what I mean? But they still, again, because the gods, which I wish we had more gods. This would have been a perfect place to put them in, but we never got them. Anyway, they still pray to their gods. They still go to the temples. They still do offerings. You're still getting these cultural sort of world building moments where you're like, everybody's calm, everybody's relaxed, they're ready for this. They're ready for Achilles, they're ready for Agamemnon, they're ready for this big giant army to come, because they know that they're okay, because that's what they believe, because they've been okay for this point. And again, I love that. There's little bits of world building. Just chef's kiss, perfect. I get it why it was taken out, because again, it takes too much time, and if you want to do a faster pace sort of movie, you've got to get rid of a lot of that. But I do really, really enjoy that. Then so this is what I wanted to get to about the battles. So you get longer battles. They're more brutal and cruel, which, to be honest, war is cruel at the end of the day. That song, War, what is it good for? Absolutely nothing. It's true. Like, war is cruel. War is harsh. You haven't even got to go back to sort of the Greek times, or even medieval. You just got to look back to 50 years ago, 50, 70 years ago, where you got like the First World War and Second World War and stuff like that. Like you've just got to look at how we treat each other there, and then you look at the Vietnam War, and then look at all the other wars that have come since. And again, it's cruel. It's horrible. It's brutal, but that is what war is, especially a war like this where you haven't got guns and you've got bow and arrows, but you haven't got no sort of semi-automatic weapons. You've just got a bow and a shield, a spear, and a short sword, and that's it. So you're going to be slicing. There's going to be blood. You're going to cut arteries, and blood's going to spurt all over you and blind you. If you cut somebody's jugular, somebody's artery, you're going to be spurted with gallons and gallons and gallons. Not gallons, but you know what I mean. Like I'm being a bit sort of silly there, but you know what I mean. Like you're going to be sprayed by a plume of blood all over your face, and that's going to blur your vision, as well as the sweat. Because again, if you're in the desert, you're going to be covered in sweat and muck and all that already. And again, because you can't see and you've got it all in your eyes, you're now sort of prey to anybody around you and your own teammates. Like there's been many reports in battles, in records where people would kill their own men because the fighting was so fierce, and because your adrenaline's pumping so much, and because everybody is covered in blood, and because they can't tell who's who, you would find that majority of the time you would end up killing your sort of team while killing the enemy, and vice versa. The enemy's killing their team as well. So it's one of those of like who kills each other faster, and that's what it is. So it is brutal, and that's what I really wanted in sort of the theatre version. Is I wanted that brutality. You got a little bits of it, but this one, like if you're squeamish, or like if you struggle watching Final Destination, this is probably not for you, because when you see, like when an arrow goes into somebody, you see it go in. Like you see the arrow go through the neck, through the leg. You see guys getting speared through the head. You know what I mean? And then just like sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Like pincushioned to walls and sandbanks and like stuff like that. You can see spears are going through people's shields and right into them, and having to pull the shield while pull the sort of spear and pull it out of them, but still keep fighting. And you're getting heads lopped off. You're getting bones being broken. Like I'm not, again, I don't want to sort of make anybody squeamish or anything. But if you are somebody of a sort of nervous disposition when it comes to stuff like that, it's probably not one for you. But I want that without sounding insane, because that to me is authentic. That is what those battles would have been like. Like whenever you see these sort of medieval movies where they have these battles and nobody's covered in blood, that the armor looks as perfect as it was when they went in. Whereas in this movie, the men go in shiny and come out covered in rust. You know what I mean? Like they come out, you can tell they're sweating. They've got long hair. Their hair's dripping with sweat. They're covered in dirt. They're covered in muck, in sand, in blood. There's bits of viscera and like stuff all over their armor and helmets. And it just adds to that sort of world building of like, this is war, because it is. The Iliad is a story of war, of like this. It really, in my opinion, it kind of gets you into that mindset of like, this is what happens when you make decisions. I.e., this is what happens when Paris made the decision to steal Helena. He could have had his fling with her, slept around a bit, enjoyed himself. I slept with the princess, Helena of Troy, the most gorgeous woman in all of Greece. I did it. It was me, and then just gone back to Troy and then bedded 10, 20,000 different women, had a bunch of kids, lived to an old age and blah, blah, blah. That could have happened. And even Hector was like, let that happen because that would be better than what's going to happen. But Paris didn't. He took Helena, who became Helena of Sparta to Helena of Troy, and caused this war. And then you've got the king, and you've got Helena, and you've got all the nobles and the priests and that, and even the kids are watching sort of this battle from the ramparts, watching it happen. And Paris is looking, and is that thing of like, my brother's down there. I've caused this. This is all me. And you do get those character moments with Paris where like he kind of regrets it, and he's like, but he's a coward at the end of the day. So even when he realized, no more killing, I'll fight Menelaus, I think it is, in hand-to-hand combat. And even then he pusses out, he doesn't even properly stay and fight till the end. His brother ends up having to end the fight for him because he can't do it himself. But it just adds that thing of like, you made this choice, you've made your bed, you've got to sleep, and now you've got to deal with all this death. And this is the outcome. It's not pretty. And even Hector says to him, it's like, have you ever killed a man? And Paris is like, no. He goes, I have. I've killed many men. I have to just go to bed at night knowing that I've done that. I've seen life leave men's eyes. I've seen them scream and cry for their pet, for their mothers, for it to end. You don't want that, but you've caused that. Do you understand? And he doesn't, Paris, because he's a child. He just cares about what's in his pants, not the anything else that goes on around him. And this is why I love the gore, really, because it just adds to that idea of like, this is war. War is hell. War is cruel. And this is caused by the actions of a child, again, it just really adds to the story, to all the world building. So yeah, it's a more and cruel. Also, a sort of Achilles' men seem to be. So in the theatre version, you don't actually see Achilles' men be killed that much. I don't remember actually seeing any of them be killed or injured. Whereas in this version, maybe because the scenes were longer, like each battle was longer, so you got to see it, but you got to see more of his men be killed, and it kind of adds that idea of they're not immortal, so they feel less immortal. They're powerful, they're strong, they're brilliant warriors. Like I would say, like they're the SAS of the Greek world. You know what I mean? Like they're highly skilled, highly trained warriors. But they feel less immortal, you know what I mean? And I really, really like that. They're just as deadly, but they're still just men at the end of the day. They're not gifted like Achilles is. Like they're talented, but they're not immortal like Achilles is. So it just, I don't know, it just makes them feel a bit more sort of human, less sort of immortal, which again I like and appreciate. What else? You get a longer scene of Troy getting ransacked. So when they first sort of the Trojan horse and they come out of it, it's very quick. And it was quick, to be honest. From all the tales and in history, apparently the ransacking of Troy was very, very quick. But in the movie, in the theatre version, it is a very quick scene. They kind of come out, they kill all the guards. Next thing you know, the city's on fire. Achilles is off to find his love interest, the cousin of Paris and Hector. He's off to find her. Then he finds her, and then he gets killed by Paris. Whereas in this version, it's longer. You get to spend more time. You get to see more of the soldiers. Basically, and there's no other way to put it, killing the innocents, killing men, killing women. You don't obviously see him kill children, but that's part of it as well. You can see him burning things and destroying things. And again, what it comes down to is the fact of war, that innocent people are in sort of the firing line. That it's always innocent people. And it's sad. It really sort of brings home this thing of war, and it's terrible. And even the king is like, do you have no honor? Do you have no mercy? The king of Troy, don't kill the innocents, leave the innocents, take what you want, but don't kill the innocent people. They've got nothing to do with it. And obviously the soldiers, they don't care, and then he ends up getting killed by Agamemnon. He gets stabbed in the back. So the Agamemnon's not even brave enough to take him on sort of hand in hand in combat, or even have the gall to sort of face him and take him out face to face. He has to stab him in the back of a spear. You know what I mean? So it just adds to how much of a coward sort of Agamemnon is, and how he's literally just, he's not even a king. He's just like a tyrant. You know what I mean? So, I just really, really like the longer scenes of the battles of Troy and how it just shows. And that's the one thing about this whole director's cut. The battles are longer. It feels more like a Greek tragedy, because it is a tragedy. It's sad, it's depressing. It's war. You know what I mean? It's drama. It's like you've got a lot of moments, like I said, with the king and Agamemnon trying to get his plans to take over Troy, and how he hates Achilles. You've got the moments where you've got Hector talking to his father, being like, what shall we do? And his father is listening to the sages and to the scribes, because they're predicting, the gods have told them that there's going to be a great battle. So they're being led by the stars, by the gods, by people's interpretations and things like that. And it's one of those where it just goes to add into this idea of war, and it's political and it's sad, and you get people that get drawn into the crossfire that wasn't even involved in the first place, all because one person made one bad choice. Everybody suffers. you know. And I just feel like it makes me just enjoy this movie more because it just brings in more of the, and again, this is going to sound silly, it just brings more of the Greekness into it, the Greek story, the Greek sort of tragedy of it all, because that's what you want. Like I like the theatre version because it's quick and it's more action orientated, kind of like Gladiator, which I'm not saying they were copying that, but it is very much on the level of like Gladiator, of how quick it is in terms of the action and not so much the dialogue and not so much about the politics. Whereas this one, it is more politics, it is more drama, it is more dialogue. The battles are longer, they're more brutal, they're harsher, they're cruel, they're visceral. Everything and more because it feels more authentic to the original story. And this is what, again, this has got me excited for Christopher Nolan because he's doing the sequel to this movie. Obviously, it's not an official sequel, but it is in terms of if this is the Iliad, the Odyssey is next, and he's doing the Odyssey. And no doubt it's going to be 3-4 hours long, and it's going to be full of a lot of dialogue, and people are going to go in expecting action and probably going to be disappointed where it's going to be a lot of dialogue, long battles, long epic sort of set pieces, big cinematography, things like that, practical on-set locations, practical effects, that sort of thing, proper Nolan style. I'm looking forward to that, and I want that. As I said, that's the whole point of me doing this is because I want more of that, so I'm looking forward to it. But I feel like there's going to be some people that's going to be disappointed when they watch, because they was when Oppenheimer came out, they were like, "Oh, I was expecting more explosions and bombs and nuclear warfare, atomic bombs." But actually, it's a slow burn movie until you get to the bomb going off, and then it kind of ramps up and then it ends. You know what I mean? But again, it takes 3 hours to get to that point. Great movie, but it just takes a while to get there. And people were disappointed with that. And I know a lot of people that went to go see it and was like, "Oh, it was a bit too long." And I'm like, but that's the point because it told the whole story. He didn't leave anything out. And I feel like that's going to be the same for the Odyssey, which again has got me excited. I won't go to cinemas to see it because it will be 3-4 hours long, and I'm not sitting there watching that movie that long because I'll wee myself. So I'll wait till it comes out on DVD and I'll watch it then. But even so, I'm excited for it. And one thing I wanted to mention, because I know I mentioned it a lot in the original review, I want to make a bit of a correction here. I kept mentioning the Leper King and how that apparently, because again in my research it kept saying that there's a subplot with the Leper King in this movie, and I was I was excited for it because it was Edward Norton, and I was like, oh god, I love Edward Norton. And I again, it's been a while since I read the Iliad. I feel like I remembered that the Leper King was in it. It turns out I was wrong. So if I'm doing a bit of more research, so the Leper King is actually cut content from Kingdom of Heaven, that director's cut of that movie, which is again another movie that I want to watch with Orlando Bloom as the sort of the main character in it. So I just wanted to sort of make amends to that because I was sitting there going, "Where's Edward Norton? Like, where does he come into this story? Where's this sort of Leper King?" And then I was googling it while like it was a bit of a slower sort of moment, and yeah, it turned out I was wrong. So I just wanted to sort of make amends to that. But yeah, so those are my notes of the differences. There are other things as well, sort of like sort of story and sort of character development. So you get more extended and deleted scenes are presented in the director's cut, sort of filling in character motivations, developing subplots like that of sort of providing more sort of complete narratives. The music and pacing is different. So the original theatre version had a well-received score by James Horner. That complemented the action sequences. The director's cut, however, uses a different score, which some viewers find less effective and even more includes synthesizer music from Planet of the Apes, leading to a different overall tone and pacing. I like the music in this version as well. Like I said, it adds to the fact of it's slow when it needs to be slow. It's fast when it needs to be fast with the battles. It's not grandiose and epic because obviously with the battles, the music where during the battles in the original version is more grandiose, more sort of epic, sort of dum 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 drums. Where this one it's a lot more synthetic. It's a lot slower. It kind of it lingers longer because it's to kind of getting that idea of really what you're seeing is war. So it lingers. It's not going to be epic. It's going to be brutal. It's going to be harsh. So it lingers, and you linger longer. And to me, it adds to the tone of this movie. Whereas the more epic music adds to that version of the movie. Sort of the theme. So the director's cut allows for a deeper exploration of the war themes and the characters' complex motives, presenting the war as a more chaotic and brutal spiral of events, according to some analysis. Which it is. It is more of a spiral of events of just like a whirlpool of like things are going wrong, and it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse until like the fall of Troy. And the theatre version is a lot more quick, epic, more sort of big battles, that sort of it. That's it, really. And obviously, the violence and the gore. So the director's cut sort of includes more explicit violence, such as detailed scenes of the sacking of Troy, which were removed for the theatre version so it could achieve its PG-13 rating. And so those are sort of the key differences that I could find. As for my overall thoughts, like I said, I do love it and I absolutely enjoy it. And I think this version is a lot better than the theatre version. And if I had to choose either of them, I would choose to watch the director's cut version every time, because I just feel like it's a more faithful depiction of the Iliad, the more faithful depiction of the sacking of Troy, of war, of the chaos, of the diplomacy, really, of it just one man wanting to take over the world, i.e. in his mind Greece, because that the world to him is Greece. And then you've got another man who is drawn by lust by a woman, and then you've got his brother who just wants to do what's best for his wife and his child and his father, the king, and his people, and he wants to be a good leader and he just wants to protect everybody. And you've got Achilles who's a warlord, but he doesn't really want to fight for kings no more. Like, he doesn't want to be a hired sword. He's not really interested. Like, he's given Agamemnon Greece. He just wants to be done with it now. And he's kind of drawn into it. But again, by the end, he has a bit of a sort of character development and he has a change. But by that stage, he dies. So he never kind of gets fulfilled. My only sort of drawback, and I feel like I was really hoping for it in the director's cut, but we never get it. But I just wanted more time with Achilles' cousin. We just don't, like, we get a little bit extra, but we just don't get enough to care. And I don't mean that to be harsh. It's just a fact of Achilles and his cousin. I was expecting more dialogue, more moments where they're talking, more moments of having heart to heart. And you do get a little bit extra moments, but it's mostly them just arguing. Most of us, Achilles being like, "We're going home. I don't like, you stay with the ship. I'm going to go fight. I have to worry about killing loads of Trojans. I don't want to focus on that and have to think about what you're doing, if you're okay, if you're alive. So no, you protect the boat." So you do get extra scenes, but majority of it is them just arguing. And you get a few sort of moments at the beginning where, like, they're having a nice bit of rapport and have a bit of a joke and laugh as Achilles is training his cousin how to fight and stuff like that. But you just don't get enough of it, is all. I just would have preferred a bit more of that, even if it added on the wrong time. I didn't mind. It was just a little bit more. So, like, when Hector does kill Achilles' cousin, when he does die, it's more impactful. It's more like, oh my God, he killed him. He's dead. You know, like, I really like that character. But even now, even with those extra bits, I'm still kind of left being like, oh, it's a shame because he's a child. But at the same stage, I don't have that emotional connection. I don't have that connection where I'm like, or I'm just sitting there like, well, you should have listened to your cousin. Achilles, he told you, but you didn't listen. And you went up against Hector and you died. So I just couldn't get that connection for it. But apart from that, I have no real issues with this version. Granted, yes, I will admit, if you want to watch this version, it is about 3 hours and 16 or so minutes long. So you've just got to find 3 hours of your life that you won't need. It is worth it because, again, I can't really comment because, like I said, I watch the extended versions of Lord of the Rings all the time, and they're long, really, really long. So it is doable, and I do it all the time. So I can't really moan, but just know that if you want to watch this version of this film, you've just got to find 3 hours of somewhere. But it is worth it because if you've only watched the theatre version, and you watch this one, it is different in tone, in pace, not just in length, but it's just completely different. It's more of a chaotic spiral. It's sort of a true retelling of the fall of Troy, of the war, of the Trojan War, as it should be. You know, so if you want authentic, to be honest, that's going to be my end sort of capping, really. If you want authentic to the Iliad, to war, to the Trojan War, watch the director's cut. If you want a faster paced, more action oriented, kind of like Gladiator sort of feel, then watch the theatre version. Either way, the theatre version is about 2 hours and 46 minutes. This one's about 3 hours. So it's only a couple of minutes of extra scenes. So they are both doable. But like I said, it depends on what you're looking for. And yeah, so that's it really. This is longer than I'd planned it to be honest. I've just had a look. I'm about 51 minutes. So I do apologize. It's just, I love this movie. I think it's great. And it's got me excited to do more of these. Again, it won't be till next year, sadly, because I'm pretty booked up now for the rest of the year in terms of topics. And then I've got to get round to planning things for Halloween soon and get round to actually watching and recording stuff for Halloween. So I won't find the time. But hopefully next year we'll look into sort of The Last Samurai, Kingdoms of Heaven, Robin Hood, sort of movies like that, and just see where it takes us. So I'm really, really excited. I'm hoping to do more of these instead of like once a year, like Gladiator last year and Troy this year. I'm hoping to do more movies like these because I really have got the bug. So I'm excited. So yeah, so I hope you all enjoyed it. Hope you all liked it. If you did, then please do sort of give me a follow on sort of Spotify, rate the podcast. If you listen to this on YouTube, don't forget to like and sort of leave a comment down below if you agree with me on the extended edition or not. Again, subscribe. I'm also on TikTok now. So if you want to follow me at TikTok, it's howdybeans_pod. You can find me on there, or just type in the Howdy Beans podcast and you'll find me on TikTok. That's relatively new. I'm still setting it up. I'm on Apple. I'm basically everywhere. So yeah, if you enjoyed this and you want to see more, just check me out there. Follow me on X, or formerly known as Twitter, howdybeans_pod. And yeah, so thank you very, very much for joining me today. This was a lot longer than I had planned. There's loads of special features on this DVD that you haven't gotten around to. I just wanted to talk about the extended version and about sort of the differences and things like that today. Didn't want to talk about the special features, but I am looking forward to eventually one of the days sitting down and watching all the extended versions of this movie, which I watched on Blu-ray, which, to be honest, watching it on Blu-ray and comparing it to the version I watched originally, if you would have told me this movie had come out 2007, 2009, I would have believed you, because it just looks a lot more newer than the version that I watched for the theatre version. So yeah, the Blu-ray, I recommend that one as well. Anyway, I'm rambling. So thank you very much, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Bye-bye, guys.